All right, so it passed. If you did not follow last night's show, we talked about this huge story that no one's talking about. Essentially, the government just took over all infrastructure relating to the internet. Right before, of course, we've got Tucker Carlson saying a couple weeks ago on Theo Vaughn's show that, we're going to have an EMP. We're going to have all of this. Oh, it's easy to take down a civilization that's all digital. And then you have the FCC going through this vote to essentially allow the government to take it over. And the guys that they said over this was that people were getting charged more in these neighborhoods, certain neighborhoods. So it was basically they were saying that they were essentially the R word, right? That they were treating certain people less than the other. Well, I'm sorry. Something about this just rings of absolute. But again, now the government is now going to be in charge of all of the internet. And this is the headline that comes out. The FCC can now punish telecom providers for charging customers more for less. By the way, there's so much big news today, and this is probably the biggest, although with everything else, it's hard to tell, right? This is absolutely nuts. The FCC has approved a new set of rules aiming to prevent digital discrimination. It says it means the agency can hold telecom companies accountable for digitally discriminating against customers or giving certain communities poorer service. They were basically saying that certain neighborhoods would get slower service for the same price because of what neighborhood it is, right? They would give the rich, affluential neighborhoods really fast, like terabit speeds. Which, by the way, it does kind of make sense now. When I got terabit speed or gigabit speed, it was like 200 megabytes per second. I'm like, hey, I had to go through Comcast like 50 times. Maybe they were discriminating against me. Or it just could have been that one of the wires out back was screwed up, but who knows? It says the new rules come as part of the JB administration's 2021 bipartisan infrastructure law. It says which requires the FCC to develop and adopt an anti-digital discrimination rule. Many of the communities that lack adequate access to broadband today are the same areas that suffer from long-standing patterns of residential segregation and economic disadvantage. So they're saying that the companies, the big ISPs, the internet service providers, have essentially, they just called them the R word, right? This is absolutely nuts, and because this went through and nobody talked about this before yesterday, or at least nobody I heard, the government is able to now fine them for certain things, right? Well, so say they don't want X.com on the internet. They could say, oh, well, we'll fine you if you put it on there. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to take it off like that. What if they say, hey, we don't like this information being told? We'll fine you if this is shared on your ISP. Boom, it's gone. If you don't see what's about to happen, then I don't know what to tell you. This is huge, and you're only going to feel it later. Usually when something that's going to affect creators and stuff, people like us, people really don't care. I mean, they'll say, oh, yeah, that sucks, but it doesn't really bother them. Just wait. Now they are going to be able to do a whole lot of things. And if I'm wrong, please let me know. Again, this is absolutely nuts, but we're going to be right back right after our disclaimers. We also have insane news. In fact, some news that's only being shared one place, which is the CIA boss Burns is going to UKR on an emergency trip. So something is going on there. And of course, we've got a lot more. The people are going nuts in DC in a huge protest. They're getting arrested, all sorts of other things. And then, of course, everything else. So we'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on? Hey, Danish Girl, Connie Lee, Space River News, Charlie Don't Surf, Curb Creeper, and everybody else that joined us in chat tonight. Thank you to your mods. Make sure to drop an M in the chat right now for all of our awesome mods that are keeping it peaceful. So as far as the FCC, this is absolutely nuts. And I said last night, I mean, who didn't see that one coming? Once I found out about it, which was really late, I knew right away that it was going to go through. The government controlling the internet infrastructure right before everybody drops their thing in the box. And the most like painful thing about this is it's not like it's going to go backwards. Give an inch, they'll take a mile. As far as now that the control is handed over, and this was an executive order. It's not like there's going to be. I highly doubt that any president's going to come in afterwards and go, I'm going to do an executive order to give away control of something. That doesn't happen. Once the government controls something, it is controlled. It is not going to ever go back to the way it was. And nobody cares. Nobody frickin' cares. It's so, your life is going to be different. I would think that people would be mad because they would want to know, to be able to decide what information and things. And I already know where this is going. It's so freaking easy to see. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam. Hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
I mean, is this not something that, this is like terrifying. And what are the consequences?
It's the unknown, right? It's what's really scary about this is the unknown. I mean, at the surface level, yes, you can think what they want to say and what they put in the headline and what they champion it through is that, everybody could get behind that. Sure, we want everybody to have fast internet, and sure, we don't want these big, telco companies charging people more for less. Of course, we don't want that. But I think that's, you set that part aside, which is there's always a reason or a problem that they're trying to solve, but underneath the covers is where the real problem lies. And the vagueness and the capability and the power that is now granted to the government around this is the scary part. And how they can use this and what they can do with it, we don't know yet. And we won't know how they will wield this power, so to speak. We just know that it's probably going to be very great, and it's probably going to be, in ways that we never even expected when we all got this good, happy feeling about saying, yes, let's make sure, blighted areas in the country that have no reason that the telco companies haven't put fiber optics in because there's no big businesses or there's no other reason. So they've been slow to go there. Let's make sure that we find them if they don't put fiber optics in there so that the people that live in those areas can have fast internet. That's the feel good part. The scary part is what's really in the vague rules here and the power that has been given. The president used an executive order. The FCC voted on it 3-2. They weren't all unanimous. There was a lot of people, including, like the thing we're reading here. There's some people in the FCC that were saying, hey, we don't want to do this. This doesn't make sense. It should be left to the free market place to handle. So, this is going to be interesting to watch, especially as we know what's happening next year.
So, and this is a time where you have people doing videos openly saying, you have teachers doing videos on how they teach Marxism and communism and how and socialism and how it's a good thing and it's great. It says this unlawful power grab chooses central planning over free market capitalism. It says that the administrative state effective control of all internet services and infrastructure in the U.S. over capitalism, right? Capitalism bad. What? I guess when everything is off, it doesn't matter, right? Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter if it's all going to be off soon. Then who cares who has control of it, right? I just don't get how people are totally blind to what is transforming right now. Like it is transforming. It is completely transforming our country into something that's straight out of a history book, the bad guys' history book. Remember, you can always go to the marfooglenews.com. Anything here, including all of our sources, are available over on marfooglenews.com. All you have to do is, of course, look for today's thumbnail, and then, is a takeover already happening? Tucker said, what? Which nobody was covering. It's absolutely crazy. Is a takeover already happening? Boom. Click on it. You will find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we are going to show you here today, including the next story. We actually have a fact check. So just to put this out there before I read this headline, because the only place that's covering it is Asia Times, we ended up going a step further and going and looking at the MediaBiasFactCheck.com, and it says that the Asia Times has a high rating of factual reporting. So the reason I'm doing that, because no one else is covering this. It's Backpage News. And for some reason, it is nowhere else. It says CIA boss heads for Z-Day in Kiev as UKR falters. It says UKR CIA chief William Burns will arrive in Kiev for urgent secret meetings with Zelensky. Now, I am not claiming this. This is Asia Times claiming this. And apparently they have a high rating of factual reporting. It says it is worth asking how come Burns is on an urgent mission to Ukraine. The answer to the question is that UKR is imploding, and the crumbling of the Zelensky regime is unsurprising. So I don't know how much of this is opinion, this or that, but they're essentially saying that William Burns is going there. Now, I want to point out we have covered every public trip that William Burns takes, head of the CIA, and usually something big happens after those trips in said country. Mind you, he went to Russia right before all of this stuff went down. He went to Russia after. He went to China. He's been to all these different places right before stuff goes down. And it's like, weird, huh? And if you are of a certain type of mind frame, then you'd probably think, well, yeah, they changed the world. CIA, if you look back even to like former presidents that were sitting on the back of a car and got their knocked off, then yeah, they can literally change the world, take out regimes, change out governments. So him going there is kind of a big deal. If, again, it is true. So you can take this with a bucket of salt. You can take the fact check, bias check with a bucket of salt. It's up to you, but very, very odd. And then, Dex, do you want to go over if you have anything on that? And then North Korea says it tested new engines.
Yeah, certainly. I think there's, something to be said about Burns going there. He went to UK before, UKR before. He's been there before, and things change. They talk about the strategy. You can't say that there's not something big going on when the head of that 3-letter agency is showing up in a country. Something's happening, something's getting planned, and things are going to happen. So pay attention. Heard it here. I don't say first, but we're talking about it, and we're talking about it because we found it, and we couldn't find anyone else reporting it. That's always a big, indicator.
But before you move on, why would so CIA? He's got the top clearance in CIA. So if they are doing big level stuff, and most people have some doubts about how things are going and what is actually happening. If you don't want it to get out anywhere else, you don't send an agent that could leak it. You send the person with the highest clearance possible to go and directly talk with somebody. This isn't a secret agent man. This is the head of the secret agent men / women.
Exactly.
Don't want you to get less internet service or something. But you guys get what I mean. Go ahead, Dex.
No, you're spot on. Like the conversation can be had behind closed doors in private. The deals can be made, the information can be shared, and it doesn't have to go through other people, other transmissions, other lines, anything where it can be intercepted. We know that a huge part of what the groups what they've been doing in Russia, what UKR has been doing inside Russia has been happening with a lot of the covert um, actions that are coming from an organization that was trained by, and some would say built by, our three-letter agency and William Burns. So there's something's happening here. And it may not be, it may, who knows, it may be going in the opposite direction. It may be this is the wind down call. Who knows? We're just going to pay attention because that's a big deal. But moving on to NK, they are test firing a engine, and anything that they do really catches the eye of the South. And it's going to, because they've got to pay attention to what's happening in North Korea. But they've test fired this new intermediate range ballistic missile engine. And when they say intermediate range, think of this as not ICBM, but something that would be targeted in their regional area. So obviously South Korea would be hit, or even Japan. So something close. Um, but new technology, and anytime they're looking at new technology, of course you've got to think about, like, where are they getting it? How are they advancing it? This is a hermit nation, doesn't have a big GDP. They're reportedly starving, and doing all they can do to sort of, make sure they've got enough food to feed their people, yet they're advancing their technology, and we know it's coming from, and it's being helped quite a bit from, their partners like Russia, and more so, but hasn't been publicly talked about, China.
And it says that the missiles with built-in solid propellants like these can be made ready to launch faster and are easier to move and conceal. I wonder why that's being put in the back of our head, right? Hence, I don't know if it even gets the message across, but Kim Jong-un is the hammer. And I just want to point out that his haircut literally worked perfect. If you saw the original, it was an axe, and it had the same exact shape, and even like the part of the axe was different colored. It matched perfectly, and I said, "Oh man, that is so freaking perfect." But the nail is America and JB's face. But if you got that, as far as we think that he could be used. What if he's promised areas, or he's promised control in China after everything goes down? Like, North Korea is a hermit state, but say if his country is as screwed as they say it is, it's starving and it's about to collapse anyways. Do you think somebody like that would make a deal to get him and his daughter or his family, his sister, and then he will get to rule sit at the table at the next ruling position, possibly a part of China or whatever's left of North Korea in the new system that may be coming after they attack? Because if they attack, we wipe North Korea off the map. But again, do we wipe the whole place, or do they just try to take him out, or whatever else? It just seems like they're setting us up for a single nuke to be fired at something, and then it starts off everything. It doesn't even have to be a nuke. It could be an artillery attack that goes deep into South Korea, and it's a surprise attack. So, again, hypothetical scenario, a surprise attack from North Korea into South, that starts off at the same time as UKR and Russia is winding down. You have Israel and Hamas, and then, of course, you have South Korea and North Korea. Experts say that would essentially bring the hot portion of World War III. Like, once that happens, they're absolutely sure that all of those together is World War III. So I am hoping that is not the case, but putting it on the record, I think that's why they're using Kim Jong-un. But Israel troops enter Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital in culmination of siege. As far as the video, everybody's going to be torn left to right or up, down, whatever about this. I'll just tell you my honest opinion. The video seems they literally go behind an MRI machine and pick up, like, oh, here's they describe it like a go bag, and they're basically describing, oh, it's got this kind of weapon in it, this kind of weapon. They go in the room. The one thing I will say, just because I'm skeptical of everything, it doesn't matter what side it is, go into the room, and apparently these terrorists are super organized. there were all these cubbies, and each one of them, it was like the bulletproof vests, the stuff, the weapons, the bullets. They were like all organized, all nicely, like somebody with OCD is a terrorist. It was kind of crazy, but essentially they're showing that they're using hospitals as their cover. Now, if it's true that they do this, it's against all sorts of rules. It says Israeli troops entered Gaza's biggest hospital on Wednesday and were searching its rooms and basement, witnesses said, culminating the days-long siege. Now, my doubts are just how they did the video, this guy walking through and a tour of what they found. So obviously on the other side of this, that they are trying to show, well, this is why we're doing it, because everybody's screaming at them for hitting hospitals. But they're like, well, look, the hospitals are literally full of gear. Like they're using it as cover, which, I mean, makes sense. If that's off limits to hit, then they know they're going to be safe there too. But again, there's no perfect answer here, because do you hit a hospital that's full of patients? Say if there's 200 patients and 10 terrorists, well, some say yes. And that's what the whole argument is about right now. They have become, the Gaza city has become the main target of a ground operation by Israeli forces. Say Hamas fighters located the beating heart of their operations in a headquarters in tunnels beneath it. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, the quotes that are coming from IDF certainly are, very Ganda-ish, and I'm not saying that they're right or wrong. It's just, anytime just remember, anytime the military speaks, they are doing it from a point of view of PR. But they did say, like, quote, before entering the hospital, our forces were confronted by explosive devices and T squads. Fighting ensued in which those people were taken out. Then they also, quote, said, we can confirm that incubators, baby food, and medical supplies brought by IDF tanks from Israel have successfully reached the hospital, and our medical teams and Arabic-speaking soldiers on the ground to ensure that those supplies reach those in need. So very feel-good kind of thing. And then they did go on to say that their soldiers have already found weapons and other infrastructure, the T word in front of it. So that sort of comes back to this notion that they said that they know, and in their quote, they said they know that they were using it as a headquarter. So, yeah, very, it's very spun for sure with the words and the phrasing, but it's also, if it's true, then that's, good for them too.
And on the other side, there's been videos claiming that even if you were a civilian or a doctor in full getup, you walk out the door, they had people with specialized long range and would take them out. As far as what's going on right now, on the bigger picture of things, it's not going well, and things are getting worse. Things are also progressing with whatever's happening in UKR. We're going to find out in the next week what is actually happening there. I think we're actually going to have some more information from that, because that CIA director, if he is truly going, if that is correct, then I believe we're going to have some sort of something happen that either progresses the story, progresses the movie, or takes it back a notch. But we'll see, and we'll cover it here. If you're not subscribed, just a reminder, a lot of folks email us, and over the last 2 weeks especially, they have said that when they try to subscribe, it will not let them. They will refresh the page, and it's unsubscribed. They will refresh, and it's unsubscribed. Make sure you are subscribed. We know that a huge chunk of people that watch every single day are not subscribed, so make sure to click that button, and make sure to check if you are. You can still show up in people's homepages and not be subscribed. I've been unsubscribed from all of my friends, which I know I'm not unsubscribing. Heck, I could go through a list of my close friends on YouTube, and I guarantee you at least 2 or 3 of them will be unsubscribed that I'm not doing. So again, check that. See if you can even if you're allowed to do it. Otherwise, make sure to hit the bell notification and select all, and that way you'll get all notifications. So just tell me if it works. Let me know in the comments down below if you're on the replay. If you were unsubscribed, put that down there. Appreciate it. Real quick before we move on, I want to remind you we are independent. We're on our own. We're up against a mountain of mainstream media and just absolute every last move that the government and these agencies make is all against the independent little guy sharing information. They don't want our opinion. They don't want us saying anything because they don't have control over us. We don't have a multi-channel network. If you do want to support us and, again, protect yourself at the same time, highly recommend getting an EMP shield. This is something that you won't need until you need it, but when you need it, you're going to thank yourself for doing it. It's a very simple device that you put in your car, and it will protect you against EMPs, electromagnetic pulse, from an adversary, or it will protect you against a CME or a Carrington-level event from the sun. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. This is the same company that agencies like DHS, DOD are using. Of course, the DEMSO team. So they've got huge government contracts too, again now. So they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff for them. The government is not going to outfit you with one of these. They are protecting their own stuff. So that should tell you something alone. But as far as your cars, most all of them are digital. If you have any of the newer cars, they are literally all digital. From the gas intake, everything. If the digital systems are fried, then you're not going anywhere. So put this in less than 10 minutes, red to red, black to black on your battery, and green to ground, a part of your frame, and you're set. marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. You're going to get $50 off, and you're going to help us survive. So appreciate you. It helps reinforce the growth of our channel and the growth of this community. So thank you guys, and much appreciated. Russian oil tankers not targeted in EU sanctions proposal. Real quick, I do want to say thank you to Juby Joe yesterday. Thank you, Neil Nelson, yesterday. Thank you. But also to the chat. Let's do a quick roll call. Where are you from? And again, just the state, general state or province. So we have the other Foog family members. You can find other people near you. Let's see here. Twilight from the 805. Where is 805? That sounds familiar. Keep those bicycle tires pumped up. 702 Chuck. One thing IO Comet Moon says OH. IO. Ohio, Northwest Oregon, Texas, Oklahoma. OH. IO. Shomo. Let's see here. We've got Elephant Island. 5-1. Canada. What's going on? We've got Southern Arizona, Snowco, Washington, nice Hafer. Let's see here, Virginia, San Antonio, and let's see here, Winnipeg. Hey, nice to see you. Mind you, what were you saying there? What the heck? Gosh dang. I swear, the older you get, the second a thought goes in, it just goes right back out. Dex, could you tell what I was about to say? You know me so well. Probably could finish my sandwich. Per sentence?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Not this time. Good try. I didn't catch enough.
Somebody made a comment. Dang it. Joe Scheidt, it's the weed. I don't smoke weed, but if I used to back when I was younger. I don't drink either since my second daughter was born, since when my wife was pregnant. And then since then, just kept having kids. Region 4, it gets worse, Adam. Yes, it does. Let's see here. Montreal, Quebec, and my health. By the way, when I used to do that stuff, I could handle it. But especially even in the last 10 years, it's so strong. Here, it's legal. You can go into a gas station and buy it. If you're over 21, you can just buy it anywhere. I know that everybody doesn't have that feature in their state, but here they have them everywhere. You can go in and you can get stuff. You can get edibles. You can get all sorts of stuff. But I tried it. I would say I tried it in the last 10 years, and it's so strong now in the last 3 years, and it is so freaking strong. I get heartbeats. I get what do you call it? Panic attacks. Like I feel paranoid. Like that's not how it used to be, because we would get it from some guy who was forever around the corner. That, back in the day when it was illegal and you had to call a guy. Now it's just a whole different story. Now they've made it laboratory style everything. I couldn't imagine going back in time. Like if it had hairs on it, it was good. Nowadays, it's like, oh no, you got to have these trichrome cycle lights, and it has to have LED lights in it. Yeah. So it's not my thing, but I know that we've got a lot of friendly people here, green friendly, and whatever floats your boat. Oh, let's see here. We've got Nick Roth had to page the guy. That's funny. God, pagers. 420-911, right? Russian oil tankers not targeted in EU sanctions proposal. So, Dex, do you want to go over what happened here? And this is
So
a big deal if they listen or if they do it.
yeah, so this is kind of crazy. So look, there's these EU sanctions they're talking about rolling out against Russia. And Financial Times reported earlier today or on Wednesday that they were going to task Denmark with inspecting or maybe even blocking all Russian oil tankers because they're supposed to sell Russian oil at a certain price, a price cap. So $60 per barrel. They're not allowed to make more than that. That's the sanction rule. But they were going to use Denmark to check all of their tankers coming out. Now, what's being said is a person who has knowledge, who says they have knowledge, an EU diplomat familiar with the commission said, no, no, no. When they looked at it, they didn't see anything about that being referenced in the proposal. Well, at the end of the day, it's all a proposal, and it could be there, it might not be there. But if it is there and they start blockading or stopping Russian oil tankers, that's going to be a big deal for Vlad. So let's see what happens. Now, I do know that they did report also just recently that yes, they were able to ascertain that most, if not all, of the oil that's been sold has been sold at $60 or less a barrel. So it's not like they're skirting these sanctions. At least that's what they were claiming. But if they go so far as blocking their ships, that's going to be pretty interesting. So we'll see. We don't know which way. You know, the headline, it's funny because you can go find the headline that says they're going to do it just as much as you can find this headline that says no, they're not going to do it. But it's up in the air, so to speak.
And yeah, somebody says, no, just coffee for me. Yep, that's it. There's always, if you get rid of one vice, you always come up with some other. And I have to drink, I can't do regular milk. I have to do almond milk. I have all sorts of special things that I have to do now because of my intestines. But if I had to give up coffee, I don't know if I would, I might become on some body count or something, but I have a happy life. How a UKR military officer allegedly coordinated the Nord Stream pipeline attack. What? It says a UKR military colonel with ties to UKR Special Operations Forces coordinated the undersea boom boom of the Nord Stream natural pipelines in 2022. It says the Washington Post and German publication Der Spiegel reported on Saturday. So, what? It says the report, citing anonymous sources, said Roman Chervinsky, 48, managed a team of 6 persons who placed explosive devices on the pipeline and detonated them on September 26, 2022. This is again, so just understand how wild this is, that what is being said here. It says the explosions took place off the Danish island of Bornholm and ruptured 3 of the 4 pipes that carried natural gas to Europe from Russia. Now, remember back then, it was immediately, oh, Russia did it to themselves. But everybody's like, why would they cripple hammer their own money supply? I mean, it was shipping out and money was coming in. Like, it didn't make sense. I mean, even if you hate Russia, you'd go, yeah, but that doesn't sound like it really makes sense. But again, then a different kind of plan came out. So Dex, this is, remember, what's his name? Hirsch. He came out with this whole thing, right? Does this somewhat go along the same lines?
Well, no, not at all. Because I think his claim was that the U.S. had done it, and we used some, covert tactics to do it with some people that were working out of the U.S. Now, the one thing that came to my mind is if
They're the
they're wanting to
scapegoat.
bring, yeah, if they're wanting to bring this to the forefront, if there's some reason to start to pile on the UKR stuff is over, well, then this is one of those things they could do. They could bring this back to the forefront and say, look, the blame lies solely on UKR. But I know a lot of people have suspected that our administration wanted this conflict to carry on for at least another year. Obviously, it would help uh, come November time that the current administration typically sticks around if you've got heavy conflict going on. Now, I guess fortunately for them, they have another conflict going on, but it may be backfiring a little bit because of all of the divide that is ingrained in that conflict in the Middle East versus the one that they seem to have so much unity on, at least what the appearance with MSM with the UKR conflict.
They're gonna end UKR. They're pulling out right now.
Looks like it.
That's why William Burns is going there. They're doing their exit strategy right now. And just imagine how much money we just sent there. Just let's fast forward and say I'm grabbing this clip from 2 months from now, right? And you go back in time to me saying this, like it would be absolutely nuts. That as of today, they're still fully engaged in this. We've sent billions and billions and billions of dollars. And now the CIA director is going there. And who knows what happens after this. I would love to go back to this like a time capsule and see what happens. Now they're bringing the pipeline up and saying that UKR did it. After Seymour, what's-his-face, said that the U.S. did it. And now they're basically squarely putting the blame on them, which makes them look really, really bad. Now, boom, pull right out, back the car up. And then watch, this either fades out. What happens if they actually lose? Does that mean Russia they come to some agreement? That will make it look really, really scripted then. And then in all of this, they need a conflict, especially if JB is going to be in office again, because they'll need some reason why we don't change our presidents, unless we are heading into World War III before the day that everything drops, which actually Gilly Bates made that comment, said it will be a and that we will have civil conflict. Look at what is on the streets right now. You have every side divided. You even have the sides fighting with each other, youth, young and old, this and that, this and that. It is literally building up for some sort of civil conflict, cyber event / war, all of this, and then boom, that leads us into the next whatever 4 years. Like this is, I think something really big is coming soon, and I really hope it's not. But I'm sure all of you will be happier knowing that you've got that in the back of your head rather than not knowing at all. Look at what is happening right now. They're bringing this up. They're basically like, oh, yeah, they did it. Why is this coming out now? Let's see here. War or Atlantic Rift? Which first? Deborah Lanning. I wish that we could say that, everything was going to go back to normal. No Russia guys are giving up. J-Pass says, I'm addicted to pew-pews and freedom seeds. UKR money laundering of taxpayer money. Well, yeah, they can just quietly back the car out and say, well, at the time we were trying, it was our intentions that matters. Everyone here can agree with that. And then Russia says UKR forces have crossed a key river but face hellfire and death. I'll just go over this real quick. Basically, that Russia has conceded for the first time that UKR forces have crossed into the Dnipro River's eastern bank, but has said that they will face hellfire, which, again, Russia was one of the first countries, and they have, many experts, even our military experts, say that they have mastered, is that they were one of the first countries to actually team up their satellites with ground-based weapons. So if something is coming even near, they'll see it from satellite, they'll be able to target it, and then boom, hit it. If something comes close, it gets hit. So I don't doubt that if they get over and if they are coming up towards them, that they're probably going to lose a lot of guys. And if you look at what's happening right now, we've already talked about this last week, their average age of fighter is 43 years old. That's because all of the young guys are now gone. They sent in the youngest. They sent in all the super young guys, 18 to 25. Then it was 30 to 35. Now the average age is 43, and just after a little over a year. So they're running out of people. They're even considering bringing in more women. So we'll see what happens with that. And then Vatican reaffirms grave sin of Freemasonry, says Catholics cannot join the world's largest secret society. Are we in a freaking movie right now? What? What? Ruby, what? Do you see what is being said here? Vatican reaffirms grave sin of Freemasonry, says Catholics cannot join the world's largest secret society. What? Dex, are you kidding? Like, what?
Well, I guess it's been a long-standing issue because of the irreconcilability between the Catholic doctrine and the free group there, as the document reads. So, they've had this rift before, but I guess they're reaffirming it and bringing it to the forefront right now to make sure everyone is well aware that if you are Catholic, you're not supposed to be in that organization. Interesting.
Why would they say that? Again, why would they say that? Now, everybody in the low Masons say, yeah, I've talked to two people that were literally a part of the low Masons, and they said, oh yeah, you don't know any of that stuff. The rumor is that up at the higher levels is when you have to denounce God and that kind of stuff. If that's, I don't, again, I think it is. The 33, 32, whatever else. I'm not saying it's fact because then they'll get me because I'm saying fake stuff. But they said, I've heard that at 32 or 33 or something, they make you denounce God. Now, I don't know any 33-degree people because they're probably politicians or somebody who's in charge of something. But the Vatican is literally saying that it's a grave sin to be a part of this group. Why? On the lower ends, they don't worship anything. A lot of people don't know much about the Masons, but they, at every level, they have to memorize like huge things in their brain. It's all about secret codes and or secret messages that you hold in and you can't tell anybody else. You'll read whole pages of things. There's a great documentary that it was one of the only documentaries where they go into it and they talk about Masonry. Even at just like a kind of surface level, it looks weird. You're saying that, just as like a network communal club thing, you memorize these things for each step that you go up. And it sounded very confusing about how people actually get to that 33-degree thing. And it sounds more like it's the favorites of those groups are picked. But the Vatican says it's a grave sin. Do they know something we don't about it? Or why did they say that? That's pretty nuts. It says, therefore, those who are formally and knowingly enrolled in Masonic lodges, and listen, Masonic, like demonic, but lodges have embraced Masonic principles, fall under the provisions of the above-mentioned declaration. These measures also apply to any clerics enrolled in Freemasonry. So on doctrinal level, it should be remembered that active membership in Freemasonry by a member of the faithful is forbidden because of the irreconcilability between Catholic doctrine and Freemasonry. That's so flippin' weird. Why did they even have to reaffirm that? And why now? We are just living in la-la land. Oh, man. What a crazy, crazy world. That's a rabbit hole. One on B, Kiki Gray, Fractured Fusion. Thank you guys over on DLive. Durango X New Brew, Scooby-Doo Right. Thank you. And Beer Juice. Thank you. And somebody has something going on. Praying for you. Beer, is there something wrong? What's going on with you? Nick Roth says because we're in a movie. Somebody says because we're in a simulation too. Yeah. It's crazy. And then Juby Joe, thank you again. Bible Talk 777, thank you. Mitch Mouth says, I appreciate you, Marf, and Dex. I appreciate you, Marf, and Dex. Well, thank you. And then Grace for you too. Thank you so much for the super sticker. And Trusted Source says M for mods. Thank you. You actually were the first one out the door. Thank you so much, Trusted Source. And Bible Talk, Blue Boy 1968, Trilicit, Project Exodus, Viv B, B-Roll Beast. Did I get to you yesterday? I don't know if I did, but thank you, B-Roll. I appreciate that. All right, and then before we move on, make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/energy. This is our recommendation for a solar generator. If you don't know why you need a generator, then I'd most definitely say it's good for even storms and regular events, but it's really going to come in handy if something goes down. Like if our power grid goes down, you would definitely want to have this protected. You can actually, this is one of the only solar generators as well that can be protected by an EMP shield. They actually make an EMP shield directly for this device. It goes on the in and the out of it, so that way you can keep going no matter what happens. So this is really cool because it's modular like Legos. You can expand it up to 96 batteries. It doesn't make any sound, even when it's on full blast, and it uses the fan to cool it down. That could not be heard from 3 feet away, let alone 300 feet or 3 blocks away, like a gas-powered generator. If you had the Dream setup, you would have both. Redundancy is always good. But this is awesome because you won't have to deal with gas stations during an SHTF, which who knows if they'll even be up. You won't have to store, barrels of gas, which most people can't. And you won't have to deal with if any kind of a lot of the stuff that comes with gas motors, which if you're not a mechanic or if you don't know how they work, then something goes wrong, you're screwed. But this is a great, great system. It is very, very easy to use. It is basically plug and play. The solar panels that they have, I highly recommend. They have folding panels with handles, so you can just take it out the door and go. Daisy chain solar panels like Christmas lights. It's very easy. Plug one thing into it, and it's getting power from the sun. You can also charge it from the wall. You can also supercharge it from the wall. Essentially charges each of the batteries in about 40 minutes with the new UPS rapid charger, and turns it into a UPS, an uninterrupted power supply, essentially meaning if you plug something into this and then that into the wall, when the power goes out, it'll immediately switch over onto the power. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Again, we don't, I don't get anything for referencing them. We get a commission if you do buy it. We're not sponsored by them. They don't pay us to tell you it's good. I've used it. I have the Flex 1500 and I have the Flex Tactical. These are absolutely amazing. I will do a video on all of the different pros and cons soon. Any of the cons that it once had when it first came out now have a pro because they have mods. They have UPS rapid charging. It wasn't a UPS in the beginning. Now you can actually do a UPS out of it. The X2 they had was, but yeah, any con that it had in my mind, they now have a mod for it. So really, really cool. Go get them while you can. It's lithium, so it's in high demand and low supply. And then Dex, talk about the Care Pods. What the heck is a Care Pod?
Well, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So, would you guys go into this? Apparently, a company called Forward Health has launched a Care Pod. It is a self-contained AI-powered doctor office. You literally go inside and sit down, and you're in. I think there's even another image too down below where you got an inside view. You're looking at a screen, and you're then working or talking to a doctor, or maybe you're interfacing with AI that is helping diagnose and solve your problems. I'm sure on some level people think that this is a great idea because it's like, yeah, maybe I can go get access to a health pod and it's cheaper than going to my doctor. I can
Or
get
they
in and
have an
out for $100
embarrassing
bucks.
rash.
Yeah. But then it's so I'm just like, I'm sure somewhere in here there's a silver lining, but man, this is so creepy looking. In my first reaction is just thinking like this, I'm going in a box and AI is going to take over and try to figure out what's wrong with me and diagnose things. But yeah, it's $99 a month, gives the user access to all of the CarePod tests and features, and don't know what all it's going to do in the future. I imagine it's pretty short list to get started, but it'll probably
Can you
be
imagine though, the
the
people
future
go in
of
there
healthcare.
with their symptoms. It's like you never Google any health issues you might have. If you put in your symptoms for a cold, you're like, oh, I'm dying of cancer. As far as this goes, do you remember we covered this a week and a half ago? A big study came out and said that the AI was doing a better job diagnosing correctly than real doctors were. Do you remember that? We just covered that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's just a perfect kind of update to that. Now they're going to be making pods with AI
Well,
doctors.
yeah, and the pitch makes total sense because they're literally talking about putting these in malls or like in your drugstore or your shopping center where it's just easy to get to, and it's like, okay, well, you just go to this thing. You don't have to go wait in line at the ER or whatever. But it's funny because I've seen
It's like
even
Star
locally
Trek.
where I am here, I've seen some of these non-conglomerate based doctors creating these urgent care facilities that are actually very reasonable. It's like $60 in and out, and you don't have to wait for hours. It seems like there are ways to solve some of these problems that you don't have to put a box and say go climb in it in the parking lot at the mall or wherever these are going to go.
You're laughing at this. This is going to be big. I bet you.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be big. I'm creeped out by it personally. I want to laugh at it, but I guarantee you're right. These are going to be up and down every mall. Matter of fact, the malls will be the new hospital because these will be full of it. 'Cause the only thing people go to the mall for now is to get into a health pod.
Well, and then I said it looks like straight up out of Star Trek, but any job that you can make a decent living, like we've talked about how they're going to replace long haul truck driving, which you drive enough, you can make a good living. Plumbing, even they are coming up with robots that can do all sorts of different jobs. Now, a doctor, something that, you know, I mean, it's kind of crazy because all the kids want to do, they've polled all these kids. The number one wannabe position is to be a YouTuber or a social media influencer, right? Instead of an astronaut or a doctor. Well, it doesn't matter because in the future, they won't be a doctor. Doctors will be AI. Astronauts will be AI robots. I mean, like what is the aspiration for kids now? To be some idiot that pours milk on himself in the grocery store. Like you can see how our culture and our humanity has shifted, and we think we're evolving because we're making something that's evolved, but we ourselves are devolving. This is idiocracy. We are literally getting stupider. Stupider? Stupider? Stupider. Stupider. Am I saying that right? Stupider. Stupider. It's remarkable. I'm okay. What happened? Likelihood of volcanic eruption in Iceland remains high after 700 earthquakes strike since midnight. There are cracks opening up in Iceland. I'm going to say it one more time. Literally, the world is ripping itself apart. Because I'm not stupider. Iceland's meteorological office says that the likelihood of a volcanic eruption remains high after hundreds of earthquakes were recorded. It said that according to the last update, just before 8 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday, there were more than 700 earthquakes recorded since midnight, mostly along the location where magma is collecting below the ground. Watch left field instead of World War. Some super volcano goes off. Now, I don't know if this isn't a super volcano, right? But what if a super volcano went off and it put a cloud around the entire Earth? Be like, oh, all this time we're waiting for, EMP or something else, and then, super volcano. That would be bad. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, this one doesn't. Well, this location, they don't have fear of mass landslides that would cause tsunamis. They don't have fear of super volcanoes, but they do. What they have seen in this particular area of Iceland is these larger volcanic eruptions can put so much ash in the air that it can shut down all air travel in all of Europe. So that would be huge. And it's happened before. It's been a problem before, and it depends on how long it lasts, and how much it's put up there, and how fast it moves out. It could be many, many days with no air travel.
Somebody said my Flex 1500 wouldn't work. No, to be real with you, if we had a volcano or a nuclear disaster to where ash covered the sun, if you don't have sun, you don't have solar panel. That's why in a dream world, you would have both a gas and a solar. But if you're in that position anyways, I hope that's insane. But yeah, if a volcano goes off and it covers the world, somebody said, what if all the volcanoes went off? I don't know, but the world cracked. I mean, they by the way, nobody covered this. Like I didn't hear anybody talking about it. Maybe there was a couple people, but how by Japan there's like a new chunk of island that just popped up out of the water. Like this isn't the first one. Over the last like couple of years, there's been islands popping up out of nowhere. It's like, what's happening here? Is something going on with the Earth that they're not telling us? Maybe that's why Russia's coming up with a plan called Noah's Ark. Maybe that's why Elon Musk and all his buddies are going to go to Mars. Like, who knows? They're telling us it's going to be the weather. Well, maybe the weather because volcanoes are going to go off everywhere. Who knows? Speaking of which, I could not cover this because everybody is talking about it in our community. Dutch says that essentially he is done. And he's saying that it's because of government intervention. So it says, I got the confirmation that I was looking for in regard to my shutdowns and the source of it all. So I don't know what he's saying by shutdown, but I think his streams and different things were being shut down. And he says, now that I know it is happening at the behest of actual government entities and the law enforcement is involved, I will bow out. I said I would stop if I got confirmation that it is the government doing the shutdowns. And then if it was private groups or jealous people shutting down, I would keep going on and fight on. Now that we know it is the government and law enforcement, I will respect their wishes and leave. Consider this my last post in regards to anything which matters. I may still try to post music if that's allowed. So, just updating you. A lot of people talk about Dutch. He does all of the earthquake forecast stuff. I do know we've covered before. Like there was a state or country government that went after him because there was a controversy about his forecast, and then there was somebody in one of the places where the earthquake happened, and somebody like thought that an earthquake was going to happen, did something. I feel like there was an earthquake, and they said that their life was saved by the forecast because they prepared for it or something like that. And then a local government didn't like it because he was panicking the people of that island or something. There are some islands that some of the stuff that he talks about, the islands, there's earthquakes all the time and like bad ones. So I don't know what happened here, but I did want to let you guys know. Again, I have talked to, as far as DutchSense has always been nice to me. He's again, we've never done anything together, but we've met in several chats, and he's always said nice things to me. So I hope that he is okay, and I hope that's not the case. I know that his community will be very mad, but again, there it is. So we let you know about it. And then Indian workers remain trapped in collapsed tunnel as rescue is hampered. So this is just kind of a freaky story here, and it is terrifying for me. Like the cave story of those kids that were stuck. That to me is like my worst nightmare. I can't watch videos. I'm not kidding you. I cannot watch videos of people spelunking or going into the tiny cave holes. There's this one that it makes me, the hair stick up on the back of my neck, where this person is getting into a tiny hole. It's just a flat ground. There's a tiny hole in the ground, and they call it some sort of like, it's basically the size of your head. I don't even know how the person fit in. She had to take her helmet off to go into this tiny hole, and I guess below it's bigger, but the only entrance is about that big, and they go in and they go into this tunnel. I have seen too many like 1,000 Ways to Die or things about these people that get in spelunking and they go in these caves where they can only literally fit, and there's certain spots where you can turn around, but otherwise you're just stuck going one direction and you have to crawl. Where is the fun in this? I've never understood that. But after it's like kind of watching Jaws and getting in the ocean. After I saw a story of a kid who went spelunking like this, got stuck, and he got stuck like facing down with his legs out. He had a cell phone, and he was able to talk to the emergency people. There was nothing they could do. We still, as humans, if somebody's stuck down in the ground like that, there's only so much they can do. But the family talked to this kid as he was there, and he perished while talking to his parents. Like he starved, he did all of that. That is just absolute worst nightmare. And these guys are all stuck in a tunnel. Like, I think, getting buried alive and being stuck in a tiny cave among my top three. Third being like drowning, because I've almost drowned and I know how scary it is. But rescue teams were unable on Wednesday to reach 40 workers trapped in a collapsed highway tunnel in India. What's crazy is nobody's talking about this. These guys are not lucky because, there's some, but if these were kids, the whole world would be on it. They're grown men, so who knows if what's going to happen. Dex, go ahead.
So did you not see the Ron Howard movie 13 Lives?
I did. Yeah. So I've seen two. Okay. There's two versions of that movie.
Yeah, there's two of them, but the Ron Howard one was really good. I haven't seen the other one.
How they got them out and they put all the kids to sleep and dive them out of there. Yeah,
that was insane. I don't usually watch something that long, but it was really, really good.
Well, I remember that Elon tried to come up with like a capsule idea and all of this stuff. I mean, it was just, I actually thought that Elon's idea of having like an air capsule or something wasn't that bad, but it wouldn't go through the bends. Like, that's just so nuts. They literally put these kids to sleep and then drag their lifeless, bodies through the freaking thing while they were asleep. All right, and then real quick, make sure if you want to do your own freeze drying, it's a quarter or less of the price to do this way than to actually get pre-made freeze-dried food. Go to Harvest Right. Go to marfooglenews.com/freeze. These, during really crazy emergencies, are almost impossible to get. You want to get something like this. This is an investment that you can actually, it is a tool. It is something that you can essentially freeze dry anything and everything with. It is very easy to use. It's comparable to a set it and forget it. It is a very, 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 very coveted machine, especially during CV. This thing you could not get your hands on. People were scalping them at that point. But if you get them when it's not an emergency, there's all sorts of great deals. Right now, there was $300 off, and they are actually doing their Black Friday early. So there is now $500 off on these. These are big. That picture may be deceiving. These are big machines. They can do a lot of food. The one pictured is that has the 5 tray. That can do a whole lot of food at once. It is good for somebody who is going to be a serious prepper. It's probably not for the person who wants to get a 72-hour go bag going. This is for somebody who wants to do 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months as DHS recommended for food. This is an investment in the beginning. It depends on what your situation is, if it's going to pay itself off. When you look at freeze-dried food prices, freeze-dried food has tripled in the last 3 years. It's going to keep continually going up because of the process, because that food is good for 25 plus years. So again, it'll get your garden. If you have a garden, it won't go to waste. You can freeze dry it, bring it back to life. You just add water or cook it in water and boom, there you go. marfooglenews.com/freeze. At the very least, go to enter to win one. That is, again, right there. You can enter to win a freeze dryer. And if you buy one and they eventually pick the winner and it's you, they even said that they will give you your money back if you end up winning the contest. So check it out, marfooglenews.com/freeze. Let's see here. Thank you again, Blue Boy 1968 Chappie. Thank you, Mitch Mouth, and Grace for you too. Thank you, Trusted Source, and Viv B, Heath Spear, Neil Nelson, April Sky, Renee Lara. Thank you this week. And then Wages World, thank you again. I don't know if you made it tonight, but thank you. Joe Dirt, thank you. Everybody in chat, thank you for making it. Dex, let's go over the web only. God, some craziness down here.
Yeah, we sure do, including a horse that got loose on a flight to Belgium. It literally forced the airplane to turn around and land. I didn't know horses go on airplanes, but it was apparently a cargo plane. And they were transporting a horse via air, and it broke loose. Big 747. So not a headline you typically hear or a story you typically hear. But look, if you head over to marfooglenews.com. And
a horse, of course.
Exactly. And you click on the thumbnail for today's show. Or you hit the description down below, which I know is really hard to find nowadays, especially on the mobile app. You can find the first link. We put it there for you. It's called Show Notes. It'll take you right here. You'll land on this webpage with everything we've just talked about, all the tweets, sources, including the Tucker tweet, which we've got on there, which Adam was talking about earlier.
Let me play the.
Let's talk about it real quick.
The 5-second clip. So this, Dex, you didn't see it either. I didn't see this. This was an interview with Theo Vaughn 2 weeks ago. And maybe it's just because our community, and especially a lot of our community, doesn't watch younger podcasts like this. Theo Vaughn has cracked me up sometimes, but he's a very popular podcaster, and he had what's his face on his show. So let's see here. What happened? Oh yeah. So check this out down here. This is absolutely nuts. Turn the sound up.
You don't want to travel too much if you can help it.
Yeah.
You know, it's better to be in a place where you're just like, this is my place and I'm defending it with these firearms. But until things calm down, until like electricity is restored after the EMP attack or whatever.
Yeah.
Because
wait, what? After electricity is restored after the EMP attack?
That's what's going to happen.
There'll be a nuclear attack?
No, there's going to be, it's pretty easy to take down a society.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to happen. Attack or whatever.
Yeah.
After the EMP attack or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to happen.
There'll be a nuclear attack?
No, there's going to be, it's pretty easy to take down a society that's digital.
Oh, yeah. Once you unplug that, and then when there's...
And he's saying it matter-of-factly. People are going to be torn on what they think about that. We were going to have Peter Pry on. If you actually read on some of the studies that he did and some of the stuff that he put out, it's like we've known about this risk for a very long time. But now look at how everything's being set up. Everything is being teed up. Maybe it'll even be something else that looks like an EMP, or they figured out how to do an EMP. Maybe they even have all the stuff set up so they know how long we'll be without power, just long enough to get us in, reset or something. I don't know, but he's saying it matter-of-factly. And if you look at his personal friend circle, that's kind of freaky. Not to mention, Mr. Gates has said stuff about this. Soros has said comments about it. We've had all sorts of the people that, way up there saying something about it. Why? That's why we prepare. That's why we've said for 5 years that you should have some sort of basic plan, no matter what it is, whether it be a storm, whether it be an earthquake, whether it be a tornado, whether it be SHTF. Having a basic plan will save your life. And I hope that we already know that there have been people that had their life was saved because we gave them a kick in the butt and they got prepped. So it feels really good when we get those messages and when we get the people that say they got through something hard because they took advice and they went and got a plan together, including, again, and if you guys have stories like that, send it to us. Or leave a phone message about it on 224-400-MARF. Press option 3. If you have information about what's going on, if there's something that you can share that isn't going to get anybody in trouble, but if a family member was told this or told that, leave us a message at 224-400-MARF. The number is down below. And then remember to check if you are actually subscribed. That is always a good thing to do. Let's see here. Quintress. And then, by the way, we're coming up on Thanksgiving break. So if you guys don't remember, they said CV would be kicked off by now. I wonder what is going to happen. Remember AJ said it? Do you think that AJ saying that canceled their plans for that? Or do you think that's still in the books? Or do you think they've now changed it? Now it's going to be a war. And this is going to be coming soon. Before everybody drops their stuff in the box, something big is going to happen. You don't need to be a prophet to know that. So thank you, Dex. I appreciate you. Let's maybe go over the last two on there.
Yeah, certainly. Just head over to the website. We've got a whole lot of information, everything from the political coverage, including the tweet that will show you a little bit what was going on in DC tonight, as that was covered on our other channel. So if you want to know more about it, go watch the other video on Marfoogle News. We talked quite a bit about what was happening there. I guess it is settled at the moment, as they said, but it could probably flare up at any time. It is getting late there, but the fallout is what will happen next. I think you got to pay attention to that. A whole lot of other things happening, including all the T-Man coverage, political stuff. If you're looking for it, all of this, rest of the story, it's on the website. Check it out, marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show or hit the show notes link down below in the description.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody that supports our show. Thank you, everybody that shares our show. And remember, bring in a family member, bring in a friend, bring them to a live show, maybe hang out, maybe Zoom call and both watch together or something if you don't live close. That's the only way we grow is you guys bringing in people. So thank you. I appreciate you. Much love. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. It's not time for a shoutro. It's not a shout out. It's not a shout out. Wait. I'm even more stupider. It's not a shoutro. Wait, it is a shoutro. It's not a shout out. It's not, it's not a shout out. It's not an outro. It's a shoutro.
This will be all lies. Open them up, open up your eyes. The revolution happening, it won't be televised.
All right, let's make a fresh one. Let's see here. We got to find one to delete. Yep, that's a good one. All right, let's make a fresh one for Grace for You Too. Grace. Grace. Dum 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 boom. Bum bum dum dum. Dum bum 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 bum. Bum bum dum bum bum bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum bum